Today we will be starting a new chapter, Chapter 2, Probability. If we want to start first of all with the definition for the word probability, it is how likely or what is the chance for something to happen. For example, what's the chance that it will rain tomorrow? So raining is called in mathematics an event. So defining probability using the proper mathematical language, it is how likely an event will occur. Let's take an example. Let's say I have a dice. The event here is rolling the dice. When you roll a dice, what are the results or what are the possibilities that you are going to get? In mathematics, we call the results outcomes. So upon throwing the dice or rolling the dice, it's possible that I'm gonna get either number 1 or number 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. So those are my outcomes for the event rolling the dice. So please keep in mind we have something called an event, and from this event we might have possible outcomes or results, but it's better to use the word outcomes. Now for the most important part of this lesson, how to calculate probability. We understood the definition, we understood outcomes and an event. Now how to find the probability of any event. To find the probability of an event, you symbolize it by capital P, you put parentheses, and then you put the event in between. It is equal to the number of favorable outcome, and I'll explain it, divided by the total number of outcomes. Let's take an example. You rolled your dice one time, and they're asking you what's the probability of getting the number 1. Roll your dice one time. Before you start any probability question, we need to agree from now on, you need to find first the total number of outcomes. Here, if I roll the dice, I will get 6 outcomes, 6 possible outcomes. Either I will get number 1 or number 2 or 3, 4, 5, 6. So my total here, the total number of outcomes, I'm going to write it total, is equal to 6. Now, so the probability of getting number 1 when you roll a dice, the denominator here is 6. Now, how many number 1s do you have in your outcomes? I only have one number 1. So my probability is 1 out of 6. Let's take another example. They want the probability when you roll the dice to get number 3. Again, a probability is the number of favorable outcome divided by the total number of outcomes. Here, the total number of outcomes did not change. I'm always going to have 6 possibilities, 6 outcomes, so it's 6. Number 3, they want the probability of 3, so my favorable outcome is 3. Look at the possibilities that you have. How many number 3s do you have? I only have one number 3. So the probability of getting number 3 is 1 out of 6 as well. Example 2. We have a spinner and we spin the spinner one time. They want us to find the probability of each event. For example, they want us first of all to find the probability of getting letter F. This means they want us to find the probability P of F is equal to how much? I remind you, probability is the number of favorable outcome. Our favorable outcome here is F over or divided by the total number of outcomes, as we agreed. Step number 1, find the total number of outcomes. I'm going to write it at the top so that we do not forget it and we continue using it as long as the question did not change, because the total number of outcomes for the same question is not going to change. Here, simply we count the number of outcomes that we have. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So the total number of outcomes is 10. Now let's start with our question. What's the probability when you spin the spinner to get letter F? It is, first of all, we have to write a fraction. The fraction has a denominator of 10 because the total number of outcomes is 10. Now we look at the spinner. How many letter F's do you have? I only have one letter F. So my numerator is 1. Then the probability of getting letter F when you spin the spinner is 1 over 10 as a fraction. Let's take another example here. Let's take the probability of getting a vowel. We all know what vowels are. They are A, E, I, O, U. What's the probability when you spin the spinner to get a vowel? Again, a probability is a fraction, so a fraction, denominator is the total number of outcomes. We agreed it does not change. It is 10. Now, let's look back at our spinner and see how many vowels do we have. We have A, that's a 1. We have E, 2 vowels till now. And then we have I. So we have in the spinner a total of 3 vowels. So our number of favorable outcomes is 3. So the vowel probability of getting a vowel is a 3 out of 10 or 3 over 10. Another example. When you spin the spinner, what's the probability of getting a consonant? To get a consonant, we know that consonants are the other letters in the English alphabet other than the vowels. So again, a probability is a fraction that has a denominator that is related to the total number of outcomes, which is 10. Does not change. We are still in the same question. Now we go back to the spinner and we count how many consonants do we have. A, of course, is not a consonant. B, that's a 1. C, a 2. D, a 3. E cannot be counted. F, 4. G, 5. H, 6. And J, 7. So we have 7 consonants. Then the probability of getting a consonant is 7 over 10. What is the probability of getting letter M? From spinning the spinner 1 time. Again, probability, a fraction. The denominator is the total number of outcomes, which is 10 here. Then we look at the spinner. Can you see letter M in the spinner here? Any letter M? No letter M. So the number of my favorable outcome is 0. So the fraction is 0 out of 10. We cannot leave it as 0 out of 10, and that's a probability of M is 0. Example 3. A spinner is spun 1 time, and this time our spinner is different because it is having colors. As you can see here, we have different colors: red, blue, green, and yellow, and so on. The question is, find the probability of each event. Before we start, we agreed step number 1, find the total number of outcomes. Let's count them together. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So my total number of outcomes is 8. I wrote it at the top to make sure that we're going to use it in all of the questions in this example. Let's start with the first part. They said they want the probability of the color blue. So what's the probability when you spin the spinner to get a color blue? Again, probability, we're going to write it as a fraction. The denominator is the total number of outcomes, which is 8. Now we go to the spinner and count. How many color blue do we have? We have 1 and 2. So I have 2 blue colors, and then the numerator is 2. 2 out of 8. In probability, we prefer to have the simplest fraction. So if we simplify it more, the answer will be 1 over 4. How do we simplify it? Divide by 2 here, divide by 2. So the probability of getting a blue color is 1 over 4. Another question. What's the probability of having a yellow color when you spin the spinner? Again, we have a fraction here. The denominator is 8. It's the total number of outcomes. Let's go back and count. How many yellow colors do we have? We only have one yellow color. So the numerator here is 1. So the probability of getting a yellow color is 1 out of 8. Another example. What's the probability of getting a green color? Probability of green, again, the denominator is 8. Then we go to the spinner and count. How many green colors do we have? We have 1, 2, and 3. So I have 3 green color. Then the probability of getting a green color is 3 out of 8. Question number 4. What's the probability of getting blue or red? This is new. I have or here. What does that mean? When you have or, this means you count them all together. I count the blue and I count the red. For example, probability of blue or red. Again, it's equal a fraction. The denominator does not change. It is 8. Now we count what? We count the blue and the red. I have, let's start with the blue. 1, 2 blue color. Then the red. 1, 2. That's a total of 4. So blue or red are 4. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we don't keep the fraction. If we can simplify it, we simplify it. Divide by 4, divide by 4, or you can simply use the calculator and it gives you the simplest form of your fraction. That's a 1 over 2. Another example. On the same spinner, probability of green or yellow. Remember, when we have or, we count them together. First, let's write the fraction. The denominator does not change, and that's an 8. Green or yellow. Let's count the green and the yellow. We'll start with the green. 1, 2, 3. Then the yellow. 4. So that's a total of 4. Then the fraction is 4 out of 8. Remember, if we can simplify, we need to simplify. Divide by 4, divide by 4, and that's a 1 over 2, or you can simply use your calculator. Another example. Probability of blue, red, or green. Here I have 3, blue, red, or green. I need to count the 3 of them. Let's start with, first of all, writing the fraction. It is out of 8. Total number of outcomes did not change. Let's count the blue first. 1, 2, then red, 3, 4, then green, 5, 6, 7. So that's a 7 out of 8, and it cannot be simplified. Example 4. We have a bowl of jelly beans and one jelly bean is picked. Without looking, the question is find the probability of each event below. Before we start, as we agreed, we need to find the total number of outcomes. If you count all the jelly beans inside, you are going to get a value of 20. Question number 1. Find the probability of red jelly beans. Again, it's a fraction. The denominator is 20. And then we go back to count the red jelly beans. As you can see here, we have 1, 2, 3. So our numerator is 3 out of 20. We cannot simplify it. It's already simplified. Another example. Find the probability of having yellow or green. Remember, here we have or, the fraction of denominator 20. When we have or, we count both yellow and the green ones. Let's count them. I have 2 greens, then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 7 yellow jelly beans with green jelly beans. So the total is 7 out of 20. Another example. What's the probability of purple, green, or red? We have to count the 3 of them. Purple, green, red. The fraction has a denominator of 20. Our total does not change. Now we count. Let's start counting the purple. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Then purple, green, or red would be 15 out of 20. If we can simplify, we have to simplify. Again, use your calculators for this purpose. Divide by 5, divide by 5, and that's equal to 3 out of 4.